watching. that and set yourself on a completely different trajectory to what we have done in, say, Europe and in other Western countries.
You can't be what you can't see.
Check, check, one, check. Check, 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 check.
they have this fleeting opportunity to rethink the way they do water and sanitation. Many of these emerging economies, the urbanization that's taking place is not taking place in the big cities, but it's villages that are becoming towns, that are becoming cities. And these villages don't have mature infrastructure currently. So you have this small window of opportunity to sort of really reimagine how you do water and set yourself on a completely different trajectory to what we have done in, say, Europe and in other Western countries.
You can't be what you can't see. We have to reimagine the future and tell that story and share those stories so that we can create a new possibility. We need our leaders to be telling a new story and creating that new vision of where we're going to be. We can see that, in countries like India and Nigeria, where leaders are standing up and painting a new vision and future of where they want to be.
Without government giving the rules, the private sector isn't able to operate in the way that it should be able to, and they're not able to look after the very poor.
The human rights to water and sanitation is actually something that becomes a building block for sustainability in the system. When we've organized for everyone to have access to safe water and dignified sanitation and safe sanitation, the knock-on effect on the health costs, the knock-on effect on reducing the number of days that people are prevented from contributing to the economy, organizes for us to develop the kind of model that goes from organizing for basic right on the one hand as a means to prosperity on the other hand. This, in fact, is what is holding back most of the developing world from taking their place in the pantheon of development in the world today.
Till 2050, urban water demand will increase by 80%, so that's quite a lot. Now for the cities to cope with this, to address climate change, to address the population increase, it's very important to make the right investments. And interestingly, these investments might not be done in the city. The investments could be done in the agricultural sector where the water is. Because in 80% of those conflict areas where the water is with agriculture and not in the urban area, an improvement in irrigation use efficiencies by just 10% could solve the water crisis of the cities.
We can't wait for someone else to do things. As water professionals, it's on us. There is no them, there is only us, and we can actually do something about it.
Good morning, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be there this morning and to introduce a topic which is really, for me, very, very important. We are going to, in this ceremony or in this first part of the day, to speak about diversity. Diversity is a key point. It's very important. It's very important for IWA as an organization, but it's more and more important also for the water professional. I've always been keen on trying to develop diversity inside IWA since I joined the board. The different executive director know that I was fighting in the board in order to develop the diversity, all kind of diversity, not just gender diversity, also cultural, social diversity. I think it's absolutely key for IWA as an organization, but it's also very important in the water professional area that we understand that diversity is necessary. The diversity is probably to look at every place. So today we are going to discuss more about gender diversity in the water area. But in general, diversity is key, and I would like to note that today the the International Day for people who suffer from disabilities. Disability is also a kind of difficulty, and we need to take care also. So I think if we have in our mind that diversity is key, and when you experience personally a problem because you are not of the majority of the, it's important. And if we look all around us, we are diverse, and I think we all have had experience on being in the difficulties we were not exactly in the right norms, or so it's very important we develop and we understand that. As a woman, I fight for diversity, but not just gender diversity, and I think some of you have been experiencing also difficulties. So thanks for being there, listening, and I would like to first welcome, if I find back my documents, sorry for that. Welcome on the stage now. Madhu Krishna. It's a real, please Madhu, come on, and while you come, I will give your CV. I'm very happy, and I think we can applaud Madhu for coming. Madhu is Deputy Director in the Gates Foundation and leads the Foundation India initiative on water, sanitation and hygiene, and oversees the community's portfolio. She manages a vast range of investment and portfolio in these two areas. As country lead for WASH, she oversees work at both national ministry and 5 focus states and over 40 implementation partners. She provides oversight to working with community in service of foundation core goals for health and nutrition and program strategy, working in agriculture, development, finance, service, and gender equality. Of course, women equality is also one of our topics, but she will be much broader. So thank you, Madhu, for being, and the stage is yours. Please come on the micro, it's your go, and you are going to introduce our diversity panel, and I let you the micro. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to have you.
Thank you and good morning. To begin with, I would like to thank IWA and the organizers for inviting me to participate at this development congress. In particular, I would like to make a special call out to Kala, without whose leadership and support this would not have been possible. A big thank you to Kala, Diane, and the IWA team for giving this topic on gender equity in sanitation and water a plenary to speak at. I'm also happy to see that the overarching message yesterday for this Congress was the emphasis on the human angle of water and sanitation. On that note, how many of you in this room would agree, by a show of hands, that gender equality is in fact a human rights issue? Show of hands? Yes. Some are not putting their hands up. Is that because you're tired, or because you actually don't believe that this is a human rights issue? How many of you would also agree that gender inequality continues to remain ubiquitous across sectors and geographies? Yes? Okay, thank you. So in spite, unfortunately, of how far humankind has come, half of the world's population continues to have no voice, no decision-making power, and disproportionately low agency in shaping how our world is going to be designed and will develop. At a development congress, it is very important that we deliberate on this topic because we are lagging far behind on this very important development parameter. And it's nowhere more stark than in the case of water and sanitation, both in terms of infrastructure, service delivery, and resource allocation. A lack of safe sanitation and safe water continues to disproportionately affect millions of women and girls around the world. We heard some of those heart-wrenching stories at yesterday's plenary from Rosie. I'm sure a lot of us spent some sleepless night yesterday night thinking about what we could do to make that world better for people that she recounted. And this is not a men versus women story. at all. Men suffer too, but we know that it is dangerously significant and magnified when you don't have safe sanitation and water for women. It ranges from school absenteeism, much higher rates, physical, psychological ill health, malnourishment, immobility, and gender-based violence and harassment. This is happening every single day, and a lot of it is around trying to get access to safe water and sanitation. Without a doubt, women pay a huge mental and physical cost when it comes to their inability to access safe water and sanitation. But many of us have heard this story before and seen it play out. But why does this happen, and what needs to change? The primary reason for this gross inequality is that in spite of the very unique needs that women have at both a biological and socio-cultural level, it is almost always men who input into and determine the design and planning of infrastructure and service delivery and how resources will be allocated. By not including women in formative decision making, we have created cities, towns, villages across the world with significant gender biases and blind spots, both literally and figuratively. What do I mean by unique needs? When women are pregnant, menstruating, the needs for safe sanitation are much higher, more frequent, more urgent. Researchers have of late found that the constant worry and anxiety caused by lack of safe sanitation water for their families causes PTSD type of syndromes, leaving long-term scars on women and their lives, apart from all the extra physical discomfort and disease that they suffer over a lifetime. So what needs to change? Women need to be heard. They need to be making decisions for themselves and society, and need to be equal partners in design, development, and delivery of water and sanitation infrastructure, services, and innovation. They cannot continue to be viewed as merely a beneficiary subgroup. It is only possible to know and provide for what a woman needs if a woman is asked and has the agency to decide. We are not asking for more. We are simply asking for the same playing field. This makes even market sense. Diane yesterday, and I'm paraphrasing and using her argument, says when the markets design a new product, whether it's shoes or clothes, you don't ignore half the population. You're not making shoes only for men. And yet, when we plan infrastructure and services or innovate, we actually forget there's a whole half of the population we haven't thought about. So, going forward, we can no longer afford to confuse tokenism with empowerment, including one woman in a planning body, outnumbered, with little agency, will not have the transformational impact that we are looking for. Women's voices need to be heard because they are just that, women's voices. We cannot bring on only one woman into a room and force her to fit into a dominant age-old framework that ignores these gender biases. We need to feminize and use a woman's unique perspective to rethink our notions of truth and reset our approaches in order to create truly inclusive models of development. So we strive from being just gender sensitive to becoming gender intentional about integrating gender and therefore creating truly transformational societies. I strongly believe that we have an opportunity today to make the water and sanitation sector an exemplar in this. We know that there are many in this room who are pushing hard to ensure that women are at the forefront of decision making and that their voices are at the center of the sector. We have strong and remarkable women commissioners now in charge of citywide sanitation planning, female entrepreneurs challenging gender norms in male-dominated sectors like desludging and engineering. There are still, however, a very small handful of such champions. What we need to create are much larger victories for them to empower them truly. If you do that, you will have the kind of transformational impact that we all work towards, going beyond individual gains to much larger social cultural impact, where we know that water and sanitation sits very squarely in the middle of that impact. As we see this, it becomes clear that gender equity is a non-negotiable. And when we view water and sanitation both through a prism of human rights as well as through market efficiencies. But we are just beginning. The road is long and it's not definitely easy. As Melinda Gates reminds us, we cannot use the complexity of resolving gender inequality as an excuse for failing to think and act more intentionally about putting women and girls at the center of what we do. Gender equity cannot be an afterthought. Today, I am honored and privileged to have with me women who represent everything we have discussed so far and can hope for, as well as many of you in the room today. Strong champions, challenging age-old gender norms, and taking on important leadership roles in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you sit on the second chair? I will explain more. So thank you very much for the inspiring presentation. I'm going to lead now and share the panel of participants. So I will call them, and when I call them why they are coming on the stage, I will explain a bit their CV. So I will start first, as I told you yesterday, that it's the Development Congress is a place where a water professional meets development professionals. So I will start by inviting two water professionals on the stage, which is first Beatrice Shiwala Chibwe. Please come on the stage, and we can applaud her. I mean, she works as gender coordinator at Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company in Zambia. Her core duties are to coordinate and support the development and enhancement of guidelines, processes, procedure and system for the successful mainstreaming of social inclusion and gender issues across all structures, operation and programs. Please, come on there. The second speaker will be, and you know her quite well, is Rose Kagwa. Rose, please come on stage. Dr. Rose Kagwa, which is well known in IWA, is the Director of Business and Scientific Services at the National Water and Sewerage Corporation of Uganda. She oversees the function of water quality management, training and capacity development, research and development and consultancy. She is the second president of HAFWA, Scientific and Technical Council, and has served as Vice President for the IWA Intermittent Water Supply Specialist Group. She gains many awards, and I will come back on that later on. Thank you for being there. Now we have some development specialists, and I would call Marilyn Keka Akikari. Please, Marilyn, come on stage. Marilyn has 23 years of experience as a social worker for different national and international NGOs in the area of human resource management, gender equity, and social inclusion. For the last 1.5 years, she has been working for the citywide sanitation as capacity building and training advisor. She works on the efficiency of capacity building in order to increase their design, develop, deliver, and evaluate better WASH trainings, especially for participants for low-income community. Welcome, Marilyn. And the last one, and I'm really very happy to welcome Muntaz Bekam. She's, please Muntaz, and I think your translator is coming with you, and thank you for doing that. Muntaz is a community leader. she started as a leader of Radha Krishna sector for health, sector health group in Bhubaneswar. So I'm sorry for that, but come on. Bhubaneswar war in 2016 in India. Since 2018, she successfully helped mobilize 4 area-level federations in her area. She's a key person in linking her own area-level federation in catering service enterprise. Mumtaz is a community leader, so it's very interesting to have a community leader inside our discussion because we are outside and she will, as she speaks Hindu, she will have a translation. Welcome to you, and I'm also happy that we welcome people who are not fluent in English. You know that I am not, and most of us are not native English, and we need to keep the possibility inside of IWA to be able to exchange with people who are not fully able to speak in their own in English. English is our community language, but it's the Globish, the real language. So welcome, Mumtaz, and I'm going to lead a bit this group. So as I told, I think it would be interesting in our group not to speak about gender. I am sorry. You have seen that we are not gender equal. We are only women. I'm very sorry for that. But it's quite exceptional. So I think they can accept it. What do you think of it? Normally it's the reverse. So sorry for the gender equality. But okay, we start that. What I feel interesting is in our vision, and Madhu, you said that, we don't think that we can really be efficient in the water area if we just have very few women, because we deal with sanitation and health, and the needs of women are different from the need of men. So how can we expect to be efficient without having people who participate to the design? So the first question to development professionals would be, why, on your opinion, and I'm asking that to you, Mumtaz, why, on your opinion, it is important that you work with female water professionals? And please, Madhu, maybe translate my question to Mumtaz with a micro. You can take a micro, Madhu, and you can take Mumtaz a micro too. Madhu will translate my question in Hindu, and Mumtaz will answer in Hindi. Many of you are understanding, so you have the luck to understand Hindi. And then, Madhu, you will translate. Okay? So I repeat my question, then it will be translated. Why, as a development professional or representative of community, you think that having women in front of you helps go quicker and adapt better?
वो पूछ रहे हैं कि आपका जब आप काम करते हैं कम्युनिटी के साथ, तो अगर आपके सामने औरत हो जो इंजीनियर है, वहाँ की शहर की वो हो, ऑफिशियल है, तो आपके लिए काम अच्छा चलता है क्या, और क्यों चलता है? क्योंकि वो औरत है.
पहले आप सबको सॉरी, नॉट टू स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश, आई स्पीक हिंदी.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
पहले एक बात है कि सपोर्ट तो ज़रूरी हमको मिलता है लेडीज़ से, क्योंकि लेडीज़ ही लेडीज़ का बात समझता है. जेंट्स समझता है या क्या बिजनेस का पर्पज़ में समझता है. जब हर वाटर या सैनिटेशन का ऊपर दिखा जाए तो लेडीज़ को लेडीज़ का बात ही समझ जाता है जो इसको क्या ज़रूरत है. इसीलिए हमको क्या जो लेडीज़ सपोर्ट मिले तो हमको अच्छा है. ये जो ऑफिस जाते हैं, जब लेडीज़ देखते हैं ना, कोई सा प्रोजेक्ट बनता है तो उसमें लेडीज़ जेंट्स ही बनाते हैं. लेडीज़ के बारे में नहीं सोच के बनाते, वो बिजनेस के बारे में सोच के बनाते हैं. हाँ, हमको यहाँ करना है, सिर्फ कर दिए. उसको कैसा के मैनेज करना है, उसको कैसे यूज़ करना है, उसको कैसा एस्टेब्लिश करना है, उसको सोचना चाहिए. इसलिए हमको लेडीज़ ज़रूरत है वहाँ. इसलिए हमको लेडीज़ इंजीनियर हो या लेडीज़ बिल्डर्स हो या लेडीज़ मॉनिटरीज हो, किसी को भी ज़रूरत, लेडीज़ हमको सपोर्ट चाहिए.
So Mumtaz says it's very, very important that they also interface with women on the other side of the table as communities. in their experience, men actually don't understand what are women's special needs when they're planning their projects. It's very sympathetic when you have a woman who's either an engineer, a finance person, or a city planner, because men tend to neglect the community side of things and think more about the business side of the project.
Is there also, for example, in designing the needs, do you think that it is easier to speak with a woman because you have no difficulty, cultural understanding on what are the specific needs? Is it also on the design and on the explanation? Because I've even experienced some discussion at board level, trying to explain to a man that I dislike some kind of toilets, and he didn't understood that. So, okay. My husband understands it now, but okay. But I've been. Okay. So, what is your feeling on the design?
वो कहते हैं जब आप डिज़ाइन के बारे में बात करते हैं आदमियों से, तो क्या औरत से बात करना इजी होता है कि हमें क्या चाहिए, हमारी क्या स्पेशल नीड्स है औरत के होते हुए, इसमें भी फ़र्क पड़ता है क्या?
हाँ, इसमें ज़रूर फ़र्क गिरता है, इसीलिए क्योंकि जो ज़रूरत है, जब पब्लिक टॉयलेट हो, कम्युनिटी टॉयलेट हो, वाटर सप्लाई हो, किसी में भी, जैसे कि गांव या स्लम एरिया में पब्लिक टॉयलेट एक खुला गया, वहाँ प्लेसमेंट कैसा चाहिए, वो उसको वहाँ जाने के लिए सूटेबल प्लेस है, या गांव का औरत यहाँ से थोड़ा दूर जा सकता है, या वह माँ का साथ बच्चा जाना ज़रूरी है, वो बच्चा वहाँ सेफ है कि नहीं, वो माँ सेफ है कि नहीं, उसको कितना पानी ज़रूरत है वो माँ ही जानता है, वो जेंट्स नहीं जान सकता है उस माँ को उस बच्चा का वहाँ सेफ है, वो माँ को कितना पानी चाहिए, वो प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज है या पीरियड्स वाला बच्ची है, कोई भी है, उसको पानी कितना दो, उसको क्या सेफ है, वहाँ लाइट है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है या नहीं है, उसको ये सब सारे नज़रअंदाज रखते हुए जब हर प्लान में औरत को सबमिट किया जाए, ये तो अच्छा बात होगा, क्योंकि हम भी चाहते हैं जो इक्वल होना ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि जैसा एक माँ का सामने में एक लड़का एक लड़की दोनों बराबर होता है, एक समाज के लिए एक लड़की एक जेंट्स दोनों बराबर होना चाहिए, इसीलिए हर प्लान में दोनों को 50-50 रखना ज़रूरी है.
So she's saying absolutely it's very important. Women understand what women need when they go to the toilet, especially you see that in public toilets and community toilets. Women also take their children, they have special needs, they have additional water needs when they're either pregnant or they have their periods. So all of these are quite well understood by women, are not understood by men, are not taken into consideration. So those specifically are areas. And in Mumtaz's opinion, just like for a mother, a boy and a girl are the same, for society too, everyone's needs have to have equal space and voice.
Thank you, Madhu, for the translation. I don't understand Hindi, but at least I can see that women are passionate, and that is very interesting to have that in our operational companies. So I will have maybe and come back on that, but Marilyn, can you express a bit also as a development professional and working on capacity building and all that, why you on your opinion, working with water professional women water professional rather than men, when does it really help? What is helpful? I mean, on your opinion, it is sometimes more helpful to be with women.
Thank you. I really feel that if we really ensure the water and safe water and sanitation for all, we must take care of women, and we have to see through their eyes, and how we have to feel how they are feeling. From my experience, I can tell. So, for example, yesterday we were discussing with our delegates from Bangladesh, and one of our participants here, she is a CDC Community Development Committee leader, and she is operator of a Vacutech. It's a big challenge for a woman to take this type of responsibilities or do this type of business in Bangladesh, but she is doing. But when we are talking about the health and safety issue of the sanitation worker, I found that is, even though as a the pioneer organization in Bangladesh, which SNV is doing sanitation work, from last 6-7 years in Bangladesh. But we organized several trainings on occupational health and safety. And we gave the training to the emptiers, the people who are emptying our septic tanks and pit. We organized the training. We already make a pool of master trainers from different organizations, including government, city corporation, and other departments. But yesterday I realized we didn't included the Vekutech operators. But as the operators, people, the lady who is with us here, she has the Vekutech, and there is the driver and 2 emptiers working for her, but she doesn't receive the training, occupational health and safety. So she has very limited idea about that. But to do a professional thing, obviously, if she had the training, she could give the proper, supervision to the employee working in his Vekutech. And same what I already Momtaz discussed, that is most of we see that when we organize training, most of the time the participants are male. Recently, I am involved with a training program, and I become one of the trainers in the master pool of BUET, Engineering University of Technology in Bangladesh. So there I found that is there are very few female trainers there. So we are supposed to give training to the professionals of different municipalities, and most of the participants will be the engineers in profession, or that is counselor, or decision-making people. But if there is very few female, or if there is no female trainers, then how they can explain the issues that really need to take in consideration for ensure that 100% sanitation for people. So I think in that way.
Yeah. So maybe I'm going to turn to the water professional and ask 2 women who are water professional in a where there is still few women and lots of men. So a bit explain their experience. And I propose, Beatrice, that you start a bit and explain your experience, because you are in charge of gender balance, but not only gender balance inside, rather I would say not inside the company, but rather how the company adapts and take care of the gender of its clients, which is very interesting. So maybe you will explain a bit your role, but it's very interesting to see that sometimes you have people in charge of gender balance inside the company, and sometimes you have, what is your case, people who are taking care of the service to other and to gender. So please explain a bit what you do and how you do, and what are your difficulties, and why you feel that it's interesting to be a woman maybe in that area. Beatrice.
Thank you very much. I think to start with, in Lusaka Water and Supply and Sanitation Company, we realized that without women's voices, our programs will fail. Yeah, and it started some time back where we would receive donor support, and even within the institution fund colossal sums of money worth of projects. But you find that it's not reaching the intended beneficiaries on the ground. And we realized it is because the 50% of the people, like we have said, the women are missing in the planning, in the design, in infrastructure development of the company. And this goes even within as an institution. You find if you come to our company, most of our buildings are not gender sensitive. Most of our equipment are not gender sensitive. So you find that it's difficult, even on manpower levels. Lusaka Water only has 15% as women, which is about 118 out of 806 employees. So you find that we are talking about water and sanitation. It poses a very big contradiction in what we do. And water and sanitation is a woman's issue, because at the home level, it's the women that manage water and sanitation. But they are missing in infrastructure development, they are missing in whatever we are doing in billing. And our company at the moment, we are mainstreaming. We want women or gender to reflect in our billing, in our customer care, in our infrastructure, and we are going to the root causes of it by working on our processes and procedures and guidelines so that we embed in what we do and hold people accountable in the process.
Thank you very much. I would like with Rose probably tackle a different aspect. Many times when we say, and in IWA we say we should increase the gender balance and diversity, then we say, well, but we don't find women. There is no woman available to do that job. So I would like to tackle something is how do we help companies, organizations to find the right women which are there, but maybe not visible. So Rose, I forgot to say that you have been really receiving lots of awards, your IWA Women Award and lots in your country. So you have been, what, in your opinion, should we do? Or first, a very simple question. Did the awards help your career? Or it was nice to receive, but then it doesn't change anything? Or do you feel that you are more visible? And does visibility helps in order to spread and to be able to be in the different, how do we manage to increase gender balance in effective way? I mean, so what is the visibility and how do you feel about visibility and what would be your vision on that?
Thank you, Diane, and good morning to you all. Of course, receiving an award, one, it makes you famous, and if someone Googles your name, they will find you there, and that draws attention to not just yourself, but to where you come from and what you are doing. And I think that's one thing that the awards have helped me as an individual, but also to bring the spotlight to my organization and to the women that I work with and lead. The awards also help to boost my confidence because, you know, you work and it's things that you don't really think about that sometimes stand out and make people recognize what you're doing. Of course, awards open up new doors and people begin to look out for you, to ask you to do different things. The awards also have give me a bigger push to continue contributing to the water and sanitation sector. I say this because, yeah, I've clocked 27 years in the water sector. And sometimes people ask me, why haven't you moved on? But I always say I came in as a servant to lead and to create a change. The issue of how do we identify and make women more visible? I think it starts first of all with the woman, with the women realizing that we are here and in the sector for a reason, with very unique traits that God has given us, the natural ones. I always say women are naturals, and by that we are able to do so many things, be able to withstand pain, be able to look for the smallest thing. And I always go back to practical examples. If you want a job to be done well, that needs someone to look for the details, you really wouldn't give it to a man. Some are very simple jobs. If you go into a lab and you handed over glassware to the men, I'm sure by the end of the day, half of that would be broken. And when you want to look for the nitty-gritty, the small things, because a woman will come into a room and say this place is not clean, and a guy will say there's nothing wrong with it. So there are those simple things that God has given us. But then how do companies tap into this? Chiwala shared Beatrice that they have 15%. In NWSC, we are above 25%. So it's still a slow process, but it's important for companies to identify those women, and I think that's one thing that helped me, who have these unique skills. It may not be so much about the education and saying it's about you being an engineer or you being a social worker, but some of those unique skills that begin to push you out there. And I would share one very small one for me was during my long vacation before joining university, I taught myself how to type. And when I joined NWSC, they were looking for setting up a task force to create reforms. And how I ended up on the task force with the big guys was because I could type. and I could type fast, and that's how I started gaining visibility. I looked at a way in which we can diversify the role of women within our utilities. And I just came up with the simple thing of respecting what women can do and taking that and broadening it. That's very important. Organizations, many times, we try these days in Africa to create a balance. We say if you're going to employ 10 people, at least let's have one lady out of the 10. But it's not so much about the affirmative action, but also trying to tap into those skills. The other thing that companies need to do is to also help the women to broaden their knowledge. And it's very important, and that knowledge can be through the skill and also can be through education. So giving the ability for women to broaden their knowledge. And we do that a lot, enabling women to do more multitasking. Another thing is to identify who are the role models on whom you can, I call it shadowing, get the younger generation to shadow the role models. And the role models in this case don't have to be women alone. So look for the role models and try to pair your staff with them. Another thing is building a bigger network. And I think in NWSU that's what has helped us in the way we work. We don't work in silos. We try to create a whole mix of the workforce so that the younger group can interact with the older ones, the engineers can interact with the accountants, and create that wider circle. It has to be a deliberate effort, not only for the women, but the companies as well. And of course, drawing back to the example of Lusaka, not many utilities are going to employ a gender specialist. It won't fly. But for many, it's where you are that you begin to become the gender specialist and to become the voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rose. So, there will be a full workshop just after. So, Madhu, you will share a workshop. So you will come back on those topics, and I welcome all of you to participate, to have time to go deeper in the discussion. I just would like, for those who maybe won't be able to go, if we can have 20-second take-home. Madhu, what would be your take-home very shortly on diversity and gender diversity?
Yeah, I think we heard many recommendations. My one call-out action to everyone is to strive to become gender transformational. And as we all said, the theme of this is not to say you are being woman-friendly. You're actually being efficient. You're answering market dynamics. You cannot leave 50% of your clients with no voice. And please don't treat women as afterthought. When you start a project, when you start developing a team, you have to make sure that you are getting all of humankind into the room. And I think that's the only call out. And as Rose just said, you don't actually need a gender specialist. We are all gender specialists because we are all now looking at development through human faces. And those human faces are of all genders. And that should be the go-to mantra for everyone. And hopefully the water sanitation sector is the one that shows all other sectors. We live in a world today that it's almost depressing because reproductive rights are being decided by men. That's not rational. Definitely water sanitation, as all of you have heard, is a priority. It's a priority for families. It's a human right. And therefore, all humans have a right, have a voice, have an agency. And I hope that we come back at the next Congress where there is no more talk about gender equity because it is a fact. It is already happening. And each of you is a gender sanitation champion, a gender water champion, and we won't need, hopefully, a Beatrice to remind us every day that we need gender sensitization. Thank you.
I think we are going to stop on that, which was very strong. Thank you very much for being there, and welcome you to the workshop on that. And also to say that diversity in general is important inside IWA. gender is an example, which is probably the best example to share because our clients, the people all over around the world, there is a gender balance or gender to take. But of course we can have similar reflections sometime on cultural diversity, on disabilities, on language. And I'm pushing a lot inside IWA in order that we respect language skills, which is absolutely key because the people of the field speak their native language and not my globish English. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.